also not logically necessary for me to give an argument. But
Wait.
recording, since we do have a reg bot now. This guy Bruce has wanted to debate me for the past hour.
So Cap, wait. So
And
you
now
think
that
it's
he finally got what he
Cap,
wanted, he does not want to debate me. He is actively running right now. He got what he wanted. He's in a server right now where he can finally debate me, and now he doesn't want to debate. I find that very crazy. Also, I don't understand this. Like, why you want to debate, and then as soon as we get a debate set up, you run. This is the second time that you've ran from me, Bruce.
You're just gonna like brand abuse.
So if you want, we can get a moderator here right now.
Mute him. He's cutting me off like I'm fucking monkey.
Okay, right? I'll go and mute for
like he did the first time. Oh, you're cutting me off. No. Get a server mute on him. Someone, Kylo, server mute your fucking little son. If Kylo's in here.
Shut up, bitch.
Nah, you fucking retard. You're also a fucking knuckle dragger. You're actually worse than Kylo, but we're not gonna get into that, right? So Cap, right? No, wait. I just saw the instant unserver mute. Put a muzzle on him. Server mute him. I want to see the server mute tag every single fucking time I speak. We can just like wait until he gets server muted. So how's everyone's day going? Because we can just have a conversation while
6-7.
waiting.
Wait, guys,
like a
who's
6-7 out of
debating
10.
right now, guys?
Yeah,
Bruce
how's
is
everyone
actively
going?
running from me. That's what's happening.
Oh, wait, he's speaking again. Why are you speaking? You're supposed
Bruce
to be on
running
server
from
mute. Why are you not on server mute? You fucking monkey. You're
Yeah, I
on
don't
server
see why
mute.
that's necessary.
I'll go local meter, but we're gonna get him on server mute, and then when he's on server mute, I can start speaking.
I'll go mute.
It's like obviously I'm not gonna do this shit.
And then when you're done giving your ADHD ramble,
like this.
When you're done giving your ADHD ramble,
I'm just gonna wait for the server mute.
Talking. So go ahead.
Isn't like Lex the moderator? Wait, does Lex have mod?
Say whatever you gotta say.
Wait, why doesn't Lex have mod? That was like the agreed upon mod.
Well, we haven't actually started a debate. The moderators only get
was the agreed upon mod when we had the first two conversations.
I'll put the ADHD. Look, the moderator only has permission to the moderator for the debate.
Yeah, we're gonna wait for a muzzle on
you.
Yeah, I don't care what you're saying. 6-7. Just gonna wait. Wait until he's
6-7.
Yo, 6-7, low taper fade.
Yeah, I just want to make this very clear.
You can mod.
Alright, the right mod is going on right now. Bruce has wanted to debate me for the past hour. And he finally got that opportunity, and now he is running from me right now. He does not want to debate me.
Retard. Yeah. Obviously, the rhetoric push is like terrible for you, buddy. You dodged from 2 instances. That wasn't your own server. You fucking idiot. But anyways, we're just gonna wait for you to give that argument, and then if
who's modding?
It was supposed to be Lex, but Lex isn't getting mods.
Well, I'm not giving you an
argument. I can do it. I can mod.
Do you want me to mod?
No, they don't want you to mod. Y'all want me to mod, bro?
You can like server meet him.
You can mod if you want, but look, I'm gonna make this very cool. Yeah, you can mod.
Server meet him.
I'm just gonna make this very
because it's supposed to be my talking time right now, and he's still actively cutting me off.
I'm gonna put myself.
He's like still actively cutting me off.
And then
I'm gonna do it for you. I'm gonna do it for you. Oh, I just disconnected him. I'm misclicked.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah,
I'm misclicked.
That's perfect.
Yo,
wait,
Parm,
right, there we go.
Wait, Parm. Nobody's mod. Hold on, Parm.
Yeah, everyone has Parm the mod
until they agree to a
I'm unclear why I just got
kicked. Wait.
Who's mod? I need a debate for that.
Server me the monkey.
We're gonna make that very
clear. Server me the monkey. Are you like that much of it? Like, and
look, Parm. This is what we can do. Like, we can get an agreed upon mod where if Capp mutes once, he auto concedes and lose. Anybody in this VC can mod and control the prop. Just agree on a proposition first. Like, I don't know.
I'm not gonna give him no arguments for nothing until we get an agreed upon proposition.
Oh wait, we already have like an argument that he needs to give for a proposition.
We go put him back on mute because I'm not finished. So this is what we're going to do. We need an agreed upon proposition for the debate. We need an agreed upon judge, and we need agreed upon moderators, or else this debate is not happening, nigga. We keep it very structured. We keep it very civil around here in the KG lounge. So I'm not gonna sit up here and sacrifice that civility for this nigga Bruce who has ADHD and just yaps all the time. So we need to get an agreed upon proposition. The one that he's asking me to give an argument for now, I don't agree for that to be the proposition for the debate. I also don't agree that I have a burden to, give an argument for that. So, but yeah, I'm gonna unserver mute him, and I'm gonna let him do his ADHD ramble. I'm gonna let him say
Cap, just offer a prop up. Just offer up a prop.
Hold on, I want him to do his ADHD ramble. I'm gonna let him say what he has to say.
He's not gonna offer up a prop that he's willing to defend because he knows he can't fucking defend anything. He's a retard. Right, but anyways, wait, he's cutting me off. Wait, Carlo, mute your fucking baby. Mute your baby son. Wait, anyone? All right, there we go. Good boy, right? Good boy. Thank you.
Wasn't that the loose?
So I just want to be clear. Whenever I'm speaking, right, and for the rest of the debate, for whoever moderates, look, whenever I'm speaking, I want to see a constant server mute on him. I don't want to see him unserver muted a single time, right? All right, look, Right, so I don't know why he doesn't feel comfortable.
Wait, that's not
He's on
happening.
server
Hold
muted
on.
and
Yo, Cap,
immediately
just
cutting me
chill.
off.
Just Cap, just chill. He gonna tweet.
No, wait, server mute him again. Like a good boy.
How many
Yeah, thank you, good boy.
dripping down?
Like, so it's really bad for him, right? Like, so I don't know why he doesn't feel like he needs to defend the proposition that he clearly made before. And then his response to that was, well, I don't think that's logically necessary either, right? Because it's like an obvious cop out because he's a retard and he isn't actually able to defend it. So look, we're gonna listen to Kylo. Cap, pick a proposition you're willing to defend. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so this is what I'm going to say in response to what you just said. What's not going to happen in this server is the cost of server going to be while we debate. You don't get to make that demand given that you don't have any rank and you're not the one who determines how the moderators do their job, right? I'm the owner of the server or one of the owners of the server. So that's not going to happen. So if you think that that's some type of necessary condition for this debate, then I guess the debate's not happening, nigga. So that's number one. The second one is you can name any prop you're willing to affirm, and we could debate on that proposition, right? And we can get it set up, right? All we need is an agreed upon judge and a moderator and a proposition that you're willing to affirm. So go ahead and answer that, pussy.
Wait, that was really rhetorical. Server mute him. Server mute the monkey. We're
I
gonna
already told you that's
I
not.
don't care. We're gonna server mute the monkey. I don't care. You're a retard.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
not.
Bruce,
And you're gonna get put on local mute. Right? So we're gonna wait until he's server muted. Yeah, thank you, good boy. Right. So look, right. I think it's like really obvious how badly he obfuscated away. But I mean, like, look, if the people want, I can just like pick a prop to defend, even though I asked you the question first after you already made like a multitude of propositions that you had up there in the proposition Rolodex, right? So I think it's funny that you have like all these different things that you're willing to claim, and even we have in the comments here, from Kyle over here, Cap, just defend theism, twin. Like, obviously, you can't fucking defend it against me. You're a retard, right? But
okay, I can run the
I
case.
just want to be more clear. And in terms of picking a judge, sure, right? The judge can just be polls, and I won't agree to anyone else in the server because, like, obviously, the last
Dude
time
said polls.
I just got like hoed.
No, we're not
And
doing
polls
that.
just
I
means
already
votes,
told you
right?
that's
For
not the way
retards
that
who
we
can't understand
evaluate
that.
wins in
And
this
Kyle, I don't know
server.
why you're cutting me off, right? Because it's my talking
Are
time.
you being
Hold on,
difficult?
So you're gonna
Just get a
shush, right?
judge.
Go mute him real quick. I just want to make this very clear. We are going to
No,
agree
Cap,
for
don't
polls
mute
to
him.
be the
Don't perm
determining
abuse.
factor.
Don't perm abuse.
Okay, I'm not going to perm abuse though, bro.
Wait,
But
that's
look,
on rec
it.
too that he's
we
sperm
are
abusing.
not.
Just get a
Okay,
Right, that's actually
judge.
hilarious.
shut up,
This
shut up,
guy's
bitch.
sperm abusing.
Just
What a
get a
fucking retard.
judge.
Right, but anyways, look, so like I'm fine with the proposition being theism. I'm agnostic towards the view, but I could be maybe considered sympathetic towards it. What's your view on the proposition, Cap? And that's it. That's like
I
just
have an
one that, and then
argument
I
in
want to keep talking.
favor.
I just want an answer to
I
that.
have an argument in favor of theism. If you wanted to baby audit, I'm not going to answer any clarifying questions on the
Are we gonna
argument
unmute the
unless we
donkey or
get.
not?
I'm not going to answer any clarifying Oh, yeah, I think he asked me to local muted. Somebody tell him to unlocal mute me, please.
He
No,
wants
it's
you
fine.
to
Just tell him.
unlock him.
Wait. We got the proposition. We're making progression. We got the proposition. Have either
All right, and then we're
pawn.
gonna have polls. We're gonna have polls for
Nope.
whoever gets
Why are you
No,
being
No,
difficult?
just
we're
have
not doing
Lex.
polls.
No, just have Lex judge and mod.
No, just have
Nah, I
him
don't
judge.
agree
Like,
with
what's
Lex
wrong
as
with
a
bro? Let me
judge.
mod, bro.
No, just have him
I
judge
don't know
and
who the
mod.
you,
I was
you have a
already
positive
modding
record
before
in
this
here,
was
which
even in the
obviously means
VC. Like,
that
I don't
You're
Hold on,
understand.
not
palm chill,
modding.
palm chill,
Just,
palm
just
chill.
let
look,
just let Lex.
anyone here that has a positive record is obviously a part of like the friend group, right? So I don't really care to have him
Wait,
mod and
Bruce.
judge.
Bruce, are you fine with Lex being the judge?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Are you fine with Lex being the moderator?
Yeah, of course that's fine.
Perfect. So we now have a proposition, a moderator, and a judge. Correct?
No,
Yeah, now force
because
the
I
retard
don't
to
agree
make an
with
argument for
Lex as
theism.
a judge, given that they were doing goofy shit on Ben's live earlier. But I don't agree with Lex as a
I can
judge. I'm gonna
wait.
make
He
that
doesn't
very
agree with
clear.
Lex as judge because he knows that anyone who's not a part of his
Hold
fucking
on,
friend
Bruce,
group's gonna get blown out. He's a
Bruce,
retard.
wait, Bruce. Yo, Cap, you're hearing this from me, gang. I can vouch for Lex. Wallahi, gang, he's not gonna be biased. You're
Okay, but
examining.
he was doing very goofy shit
That's
on Ben's
fine.
Just
live.
agree to
I
it.
was
Just agree
joking
to
around
it.
with Saucy, bro. Like,
No.
I'm saying I was joking around with my nigga Lex.
Yo, Cap,
Damn.
wait, chill.
Okay, that's
Saucy,
fine.
shut up, you
Well, wait,
bitch.
look, right? Any reason that
Saucy
he
bitch
gives
ass
for
nigga,
anyone
shut up.
who's like a competent judge to give judgment, if he
We got
disagrees with that
Lex. It's
person,
fine.
it's obviously because he
Okay,
knows
I
that
just said
like
I'll agree to it.
any
So shut
competent
up,
judge
pussy.
already
Do you
knows
got
that I'm just gonna beat the fuck out of
Bruce?
him.
Do
And I don't know
you
why
guys
he's
agree? Do you
he's
guys
like
agree
over
to
here. He's a
look?
retard.
We could
Oh
do
my god, he just said he
oh,
agrees. Cap
Angel.
agrees. Bruce agrees.
I don't know. Relax yourself. Look, we could do 15 minutes or 20-minute debate.
What the fuck? I'm not picking a fucking time limit. We're just gonna see if you can make an argument.
We're
for the
gonna
proposition.
we're gonna get hold on. We're gonna get wait,
Oh
wait,
yeah,
we're gonna
that's like
get
another thing too. I'm gonna clarify for the recording.
gonna
I'm
give
not getting
you
like
guys
cut
remember
off
the
in the middle
debate
of
for
my
7
conversation with
hours?
him. I'm not gonna
It'll
like
be
let him run
30
away.
minutes. Just
But I'm
pick a
also not
time.
gonna. I'm also not gonna have like a limited time on closing. Just give like infinite time for
There's a
closing.
judge
It's like
in here.
obviously
You
retarded,
have to
right? So
value the judge's
like
time.
we're just gonna see here now.
No, we're going
You
50 or
can
20
like have
minutes.
someone
I
else
don't know
spoke
why
up
this
too,
guy's
but
being so
yeah, like
difficult.
make an
Cap,
argument
let
for
me talk
theism
to
and
him for a
define
second. He's
theism.
gonna crash off. You speak to him, Bruce. You have to value the judge's time. Get this nigga something to work with. 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Be reasonable. What the fuck? 25 minutes.
Yo, Lex, bro. What do you feel like for time?
Yeah, I mean, I think a reasonable amount of time is something like 30, 45 minutes. I got that much time, you know.
Half an hour, 30 minutes.
This sounds pretty good. How do you feel about closings there?
Shut the fuck
5
up.
minute closings, bro.
Look, that's all
Yeah,
right.
perfect,
So look,
perfect.
okay,
So I think
we
that
got
values the judge's time, right?
relax.
And I think that's fun with.
I just muted him because he's doing extra talking. We want to be progressive. So we agreed to 30 minutes. We agreed to the proposition. We agreed to just I'm gonna announce it verbally and then we're gonna let them start debating. And Lex, I'm gonna give look, Lex has perms now. I'm gonna make this clear for the rec. If Cap mutes once, it's an auto concession. I'm gonna remove everybody else perms so they can't say they muted him and he can blame it on Cap, nigga. Nobody needs to be muting, not even me, but Lex. Lex, you have perms right now?
But
Okay, so it's 30 minutes. Cap's taking affirmative, Bruce taking negation is God, and I'm gonna let them go start now.
are we letting
Okay, so
are we doing openings?
Yeah, wait, I'm
Fuck
down
no.
for openings.
no, we can skip right to open
Well, I want to
discussion.
do
That's fine.
openings.
So this is what we go do. I'll go give you the argument. I'll go put it in the side chat, right? This is the KG argument for God. The preliminary definition for God is going to be a necessary being, full stop. This argument is the argument that me and Kylo have been beating the fuck out of all of these atheistic agnostics with. And really think the argument has been yet to be defeated in its current form. So we just go put the argument in the side chat. You're going to let me know if you have any contentions with any of the truth values of any of the premises.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up on my computer so I can read it. And
Can you
so,
send
what's
it in
my
text?
job to do, guys?
Can you send it in text form for my notes?
Yes, we're getting text
Yeah,
form
give
for
me
notes.
1 second. I'll go put it in text form. 1 second, I got
We
you.
should have Dr. A. Egg on, Judge. Oh shit. All right, hold on.
Okay, it's the text form right there.
Thanks.
6, 7. All right, premise 1. If no necessary thing is possible and a contingent thing is possible, then that possible contingent thing cannot possibly have an external explanation.
Yes.
Premise 2, a contingent thing is possible. Conclusion. Therefore, some necessary thing is. Oh, wait, and what's the logical form for premise 1?
The logical form for premise what? Yeah, it's just going to be a simple material condition
Wait, a material conditional?
with a conjunction. F,
It's a
P,
conjunction.
and Q, then Z. Something like that.
Uh-huh. And so I'm just really curious. So how are you making the affirmation in C1?
How am I making the yes? Modus
Yeah,
tollus,
like how,
given that we eliminated part of premise what, right? We eliminated the antecedent, so therefore you would just get the conclusions. Modus tollus with double negation. I actually put that in the argument. Maybe you're not able to track, or maybe you're not able to read, actually. I don't understand why you just asked that goofy question. But yeah, I just wanted you to let me know if you have any contention with any of the truth value of any other premises.
and what do you define as God again?
A necessary being, full stop.
Oh, necessary being.
Yep, and I can give you further clarity, actually,
And what
just
do
in
you
case
mean
you
when you
need it.
say a necessary being?
Yep, I knew you were going to ask that question. So, a necessary being is the kind of being that the referent exists in all possible worlds, and the referent is eternal.
Wait, I'm sorry, you said what?
The referent exists in all possible worlds, and the referent is eternal.
Wait, it exists in all possible worlds?
And eternal. It's
So you don't
conjunction.
think there can be a possible world where a necessary being doesn't exist?
Give it the argument. Yeah, that's actually
Well,
trivially
what's the
true,
argument
given
for
the
that?
soundness. Yeah, it's just give it the soundness of the argument that I just provided.
Well, wait, wait for the soundness? Yeah, how's it sound? What's the
You want me
argument for
to,
that?
what premise do you want me to motivate to show that the argument is in fact sound? Because the argument is certainly
Yeah, obviously
valid
premise
unless you're
2.
going to
Yeah,
contend.
obviously premise 2, read.
Yeah, you want motivation for premise 2? Okay, yeah. So possibility is going to be the type of notion where all it means to be possible is that the proposition doesn't output as false, or at least what evaluation on the conjunctive truth table. And the postulates are going to be the kinds of things which are totally coherent. Now, I could provide you the truth table, and just given the analytics of the terms, right, we could clearly see that uh, within the meaning of the terms, right, there's nothing in there that's going to conflict with any of the axioms or laws of classical logic. But I also want to say that the argument works under paraconsistent logic as well, given that it's logically possible for an argument to go through under paraconsistent logic. So if you want, I could give you a conjunctive truth table, or you could conceptualize all the possible truth values for the postulates P and Q. T is going to be a contingent thing. A contingent thing exists, and then Q going to be that contingent thing has an external explanation. But yeah, if you're unable to conceptualize all the possible truth values under the conjunctive truth table, then I can actually go and cook one up. It's going to take me maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So let me know.
Yeah, that was really good jibber jabber, but and in terms of premise 2, right? If you're saying that, some type of contingent being or necessary being exists in a possible world, well, I think the issue, right, in premise 2, or maybe just premise 2 for the entire argument, is simply just that if you're just saying that a necessary being exists in one world, that's fine, right? But the idea is that you literally said, like, not 5 minutes ago, that there's this possible being, or sorry, there's this necessary being that exists in all possible worlds. And so I don't really feel like you're making an argument for that case. More so, you can, like, read this out.
Well, I told you that was
premise
true.
2, you're just saying the contingent thing is. Well, wait, hold on. You saying the soundness of the argument is what is able to justify that or motivate that? Clearly doesn't work, right? It fails because you're simply just saying that a necessary being is existent in a possible world. It is possible, right? And I assume when you say is possible, just meaning it's able to be existent in a possible world, which is fine. That's right. It's able to be necessary in a possible world. That's fine. We can accept that. But
that's a fucking straw man.
Wait, hold on, wait. So shush. We're gonna get a muzzle on him, right? Mute him. Yeah. And so I don't know if he's been able to pick up yet, but the idea is simply just that the argument in which you're using this is able to motivate the idea of saying that this necessary being is existent in all possible worlds. Well, simply just saying in premise 2, maybe there's like a further premise that I'm just like not seeing with my eyes, right? But it's simply just saying that it is possible, right? Possible. Maybe you could just explicate the meaning there of whether or not that's referring to all possible worlds. But if it's just saying is possible, I would probably take that to mean it's just possible in some world, right? In a possible world. In which, if that's the case, right, then you still have no motivator or argument for why it's the case that the contingent being is necessary in all possible worlds, right? Because someone can make an argument depending on the definition of God, which I don't know if you've still answered that question. I low-key wasn't paying attention. I don't know if you answered the question of what your definition for God was, but depending on that, you could also challenge whether or not it's metaphysically possible that a necessary being exists. So there's like a couple issues there, right? So yeah, just go.
Yeah, so I just want to make it very clear that he just completely strawmanned the totality of the argument, right? Because he asked me, well, what's the justification that there's going to be this type of gene that exists in all possible worlds? And I said, well, that's true given the conclusion of the argument and the argument's soundness, right? Then he proceeded to ask me, well, what's the motivator for premise 3 of the argument, or I think it was premise 2. It's just the one that says that it's possible for a contingent thing to have an external explanation and that a contingent thing is possible. I gave him motivation for that, and he actually didn't. He didn't seem to contend with that. He just said, well, all your argument does is say that it's possible. But if you look at the conclusion, you would actually see that there's an existential operator applied to the necessary thing, right? It says there's at least one necessary thing within the actual world, right? And all that means to be necessary is that you exist in all possible worlds. So I don't understand why he's false charged me with having an argument that doesn't actually support the conclusion I'm intending to establish, given that the conclusion 3 of the totality of the argument actually does proceed to establish that there is this type necessary thing, right? At least one, right? There's the existential operator that's applied there. So maybe he's not able to, actually read. This is the second blunder that he's made, given the argument and the way I have it typed out. I don't know if he needs like a little extra time to read it. Maybe he needs that, but maybe he needs to slow down. I know he might have like ADHD and dyslexia. His brain's going 1,000 miles a minute. But yeah, you actually just false charged me with having an argument that doesn't properly support the conclusion. And I just shut that down, right? You just strawman the argument. And also, I just want to point out he did not contend with my motivation for the premise, which he asked me to motivate. So the burden of return was actually on my opponent here, right? Given that I've already fulfilled my burden of proof, I gave him motivation for the premise. Also, he hasn't really brought to contention any of the premises so far, right? All he's done is ask me for motivation. So yeah, you can go ahead and respond to that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really have much to respond to there. There wasn't really a lot given, but I mean, if you like look in the argument, there's clearly no motivation. I mean, like maybe you could like point out to me which premise, like motivates there being this necessary being that's necessary, and then exists in all possible worlds. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not looking there. But there's also like this issue here, that I could point out maybe like later on after you clarify that, of there just being like this type of necessary being in a possible world. Maybe there's some type of modality that I could use to reject that. Maybe we'd more so be talking about the probability, of this necessary being existing in this world, right? So there's like a couple issues there. And as Kylo's saying, premise two, says it's possible. That's great. The idea there is that you could just say possible is just referring to a possible world where the necessary being exists. So it's kind of like what I said earlier there. Yeah, I don't really wasn't following with the other stuff they were saying because it was kind of irrelevant.
Well, actually, okay, so it was relevant given that you first charged me with having an argument that only shows the possibility. Now, if you want motivation for the argument, how you get conclusion three, I don't know if you're able to read conclusion two, but you see that from conclusion two falls from accepting the true value of conclusion one and premise three, in which you could just construct a simple destructive syllogism where you split one of the disjuncts, so that that disjunct's going to be the kind of thing that's actually necessarily false. And then, given that you split the disjunct to show that that's false, then you force the other half of the disjunct to be true. I don't understand. Maybe you don't understand basic inference rules. Maybe you can't actually read. But also, you kind of just miss what I'm said about you strawmanning the argument. You just hand wave that away, which I don't think that's the pertinent thing to do in this dialectic. I want you to actually address how you hand waved away your straw man of the argument, where you said something along the lines of, "Oh, all the argument does is show that it's possible." Right? You literally straw man the shit out of the argument, right? You're strawmanning the shit out of the argument. So yeah, there you go. You can respond to that motivation now if you want to, right? I just motivated how you actually get the conclusion from accepting the premises and certain conclusions of the argument, right? It's a destructive syllogism, right? Maybe you can't read again. I want you to, here's what I want you to do, Bruce. Click the image, do the little box breathing exercise, do the military breathing technique, because this is what's really going to help you, right? It's really going to help you from being hyperactive. I want you to breathe 5 seconds in. I want you to breathe 5 seconds out. And I want you to really take time to focus and read. But I know from your perspective, the letters and numbers in the argument are probably all jumbled around because you have dyslexia. But yeah, just take time to actually read the argument and then get back to me, boss.
Okay, well, anyways, again, it was kind of like more jibber jabber from this idiot. But like, I understand what conclusion two and P3 is trying to say. That's like not the issue, right? Um, like, right. I don't know if he like responded to the whole modality thing. It's like pretty obvious to bring up, but I'll save that for like the end of my little speech here. Look, right when challenging the argument, and I don't know where he's like bringing up this whole straw man thing from, right? Because he said like previously in the combination, with the argument, it just means that the necessary being is existent in all possible worlds, which is something he said on record. There's like no straw man. And like when we look at the argument, right? There's no motivation from the argument, right? Like you can clearly see that the reference in premise two, right, which is where you'd be talking about the being existing in possible worlds, occurring, is clearly just not motivating at all towards the being existing in all possible worlds. And also with the modality, you could also strike at metaphysically impossible, which would be maybe more robust or saving towards the proposition, because you could say, look, we have strong motivation to believe that it's metaphysically possible that this necessary being exists. And like maybe you could go down that route, because it would be maybe like more motivating to believe that God exists in this world. And maybe just can I get a repeat there on the definition for God's existence?
Yeah, God is going to be the type of being which is a necessary being, full stop. That's the only definitional characteristic we have of the term God, right? And necessary just means that the referent exists in all possible worlds and the referent is eternal. But I grant that you probably already forgot that, given that your mind is going 1,000 miles a minute. So go back on mute. I'm not finished, right? Calm down. I know you want to keep speaking, but just calm down. Now, you said that You said something like, "Oh, I didn't strawman." Now, I mean, that's fine at all. You could believe that, but the better thing to do on optics was to show how it's not the case that you're strawmanning. Because I gave the whole reason as to why you strawman the shit out of the argument, and you didn't actually respond to my reasons that I gave. So that's already a blunder. Maybe you would have made yourself look optically better if you would have did that. Also, this talk about metaphysical modality is not pertinent to my argument, given that nor in my argument do I invoke any type of metaphysical modality. So when you say something like, "Oh, we can talk about a metaphysical possibility," I don't see why that's relevant. What's the relevance relation there? And then also, I just want to point out for the judge and the audience that Bruce has not actually brought into contention any of the premises. He hasn't shown any of the premises to be false. That's his burden of rejoinder, and he hasn't met that. All he's done is ask me questions, which I've answered very substantively. So yeah, you can go ahead and respond.
Wait, yeah, I don't know. Was I submitted? No. Okay, well, look, the entire idea for the modality there, being present or like being recognized, right, like a metaphysically possible world, is because of premise 2, right? I don't know if you're able to like pick up on that. The idea is that you're saying there's some type of external explanation. Well, the issue there is like you could say that's an internal explanation, and like you could even make this being some type of referent for like the laws of physics, right? You could say that there's an external problem, or sorry, an external problem, external explanation for events that maybe are necessary but are also internal. So you could like deny the causation or a type of existence, which is like the whole like relevance there. By the way, I think it was kind of funny. He's like pressing the rhetoric now with me going at like 1,000 miles an hour. It's irrelevant just because you can't keep up, right? But look, right, in terms of me not challenging any of the premises there, well, I mean, we were kind of really getting in to me challenging that the necessary being is able to exist in all possible worlds. And that was like a claim you made. And also, you didn't actually explain why there was a straw man afterwards. You kind of just said, "Oh yeah, you can believe that," but you didn't really like go on further with that, right? So, right, look, there's your like main challenge for premise 2 there, right? And then of course we still have to go over the modality. Maybe if you accept that afterwards, and then after that, maybe we could talk about maybe more properties of the being. But if not, then just how the being exists in this world, right?
Yeah, so it seems like I'm gonna have to repeat myself a lot when talking to this little toddler because he doesn't have the capability to retain information in his little head, right? He wants to go like 1,000 miles a minute and not calm down. So I'm going to repeat myself one more time on why he strawman the shit out of my argument, and then we go have him respond to that. So earlier in the dialectic, you made the claim that my argument only shows the possibility of a necessary thing, right? And then I proceeded to show you how that's a fucking straw man given the conclusion. Conclusion 3 of the argument is an existential operator, which shows that there's at least one necessary thing within the world, right? And then I explained to you how you actually force this conclusion, given the disjunctive syllogism from P2 and conclusion 3. So yeah, that was a fucking straw man earlier. But then you want to say something like, well, you could have some infinite chain of internal explanations, right? Or you weren't talking about the laws of physics, which I don't see why that's pertinent, but the argument shows that if no necessary thing is possible, then you actually can't have an external explanation, given that the explanans and explanandum aren't of the same class. So you can go ahead and respond to that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that last bit there?
Yeah, so in premise one, right, we're just saying that if there's no necessary thing as possible, then given that the explanans and explanandum aren't of the same class, right, for an external explanation, then the contingent things could not possibly have an external explanation.
Wait, but the issue in P2 is that the thing could have some external explanation, and that's in reference to the necessary and the contingent. You idiot.
Wait, you're signing off our premise too?
No.
Are you
Explaining
saying that a
the issue
contingency
with
could
I'm
possibly have some
explaining the
external
issue with
explanation?
shush, shush, shush. Right. The issue, right, is in terms of well, actually, hold on, wait, I'm back myself up. I'll get to that in a second. The straw man was never made because, look, in conclusion, was it conclusion 3? Yeah, look, that's a completely different proposition than the necessary being existing in one world, right? Or just that the being is a necessary thing, right? Existing in one world versus all possible worlds. And again, the idea for premise 2 still needing like a modality is definitely there. Because I could pull out like a Nyclock card, right? And I could be like, well, I'm actually a skeptic for modality, right? Um, so there's like still more issues here that I feel like you just haven't addressed at all. But anyways, you can like go ahead and
Yeah, I'm going to address the issues. So it seems to me like you just signed off on the idea that a contingent thing could possibly have some external explanation, right? Which is exactly one of the premises. So now we know that you agree with at least one of the premises. But now I'm just going to ask you, do you agree with premise three of the argument, which is the dichotomy, right? Given that necessary things are either impossible or necessary. Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
Do I agree with what?
Yeah, that necessary thing is either impossible or necessary.
That a necessary. Oh wait, you're talking about P3.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to show you
Yeah, I
how if we
don't.
extend premise
Yeah,
three,
I still need the modality to answer the question.
modality for what?
Are you like an idiot, dude? Okay,
Impossible? Yeah,
look,
impossible is just
so
logical modality.
possible and impossible. Look, shush. Right. Like what I'm asking for the modality, right? In reference to a possible world and what the modal scope is there for what's impossible and possible. You retard.
Yeah, the modal notion hasn't changed for premise what at all. I already explained to you what it means to be logically possible. Again, I'm going to have to repeat myself
We're
again.
talking about
I'm
premise
tired
3,
of
and that's tracking.
I'm tired of having to. I said that the impossible notion hasn't changed from premise one. So when you ask me, well, what does it mean to be impossible at premise three? I'm saying, well, I'm using the same notion of possibility as explicated from the onset. So I'm going to have to repeat myself again for the low tier, again for the ADHD mongrel over here. So I'm going to explain this one more time. Right, possibility is the type of notion where what it means to be logically impossible is just that the proposition outputs as false under all evaluations. Or you could say that the postulates were in conjunction, or even the atoms of the conjunction are going to be the kinds of things which are internally incoherent, right? There's something in the analytics that conflicts with the laws of logic. So that's what it means to be impossible. Impossibility is just vice versa, but also you have not provided any defeaters to anything I'm saying. You haven't actually, met your burden of rejoinder, which is to show that what I'm saying is false, or that any of the premises is false, or that I have flawed reasoning. You haven't done that. All you've done is ask clarity questions or motivation, in which case I've been motivating my premises this entire time. Questions are not attacks to the argument. Just gonna make that very clear.
Oh
Given
wait,
that
I'm
I've
unmuted.
answered
Okay.
inherently.
Yeah, wait. Yeah, you're done. Right. So, look, I don't know if he's been paying attention at all. But look, right. In regards to what you just said, right, the issues that I'm having are mainly with giving the modality in reference towards premise 2 and premise 3 and premise 1. I don't know why you went back to premise 1 when we were talking about premise 3, but look, the issue there is also when you're describing an impossible world, or yeah, something that's impossible. Look, I mean, maybe I should just clarify one more time. So, like, coherent with the laws of logic. So, are you talking about some type of logical possible world, some logically possible world, like that type of modal scope?
I just told you what it means to be impossible. Maybe you're not tracking, so I'm going to
Wait,
repeat
can we
myself.
answer that? Like the rhetoric
Yes,
is terrible.
obviously I'm talking about logical modality, given that I already just explained that, but I'm going to repeat myself again. Right, what it means to be logically possible is that the proposition does not output as false on at least one evaluation in a conjunctive truth table, and the postulates are going to be the kinds of things which are internally coherent. And what it means to be impossible is that the proposition is output as false under at least or under all evaluations of the truth table, or that the postulates are going to be the kinds of things which are not internally coherent. So there you go. This is the fifth time I had to repeat myself. I understand that you can't retain information, but you're gonna have to actually just try to focus. Lock in for me, buddy, please.
No, look, he just wasn't paying attention to you. But look,
Yeah, I grant that.
okay, now that we have a shut up, mute him. Yeah, you gonna mute on that? Thank you. Right. So look, great. Now that we've clarified the modal scope, right, which is a logically possible world, right? Let's go up to the argument here. Let's take a look at this. Hold on. There we go. So if no necessary thing is logically possible and a contingent thing is logically possible, then that logically possible contingent thing could not logically possibly have an external explanation. So what's the argument for that? Hello, genius? Are you here? Or are you
Yeah,
just looking it up?
I was server
Retard?
muted, dumbass. I was server muted. So you asked me for the argument for premise one. Right. So I'm just going to say, given the law of excluded middle, right, there's a dichotomy between contingent and necessary, right? For anything X, it's either contingent or necessary, right? And external explanation is the kind of explanation where the explanans and the explanandum are not of the same class. want to say, well, what are the classes, right? Contingent and necessary. So if there are no necessary thing is possible, then it just seems analytically true that you want to get the kind of external explanation, right, for this contingent thing, be it, given that this contingent thing is possible.
Given the contingent thing is what?
Possible.
Well,
and explanations are the kind of counterfactual dependencies where if X doesn't attain, Y doesn't attain, and then X will be the explanation for Y. External explanations, I'm going to say it again because I'm tired of having to repeat myself around this guy. I don't understand why he doesn't listen, but external explanations are the kind of explanations where the explanans and the explanandum are not of the same class.
hold on, give me a second. Okay, there we go. Wait, so
yeah, do you agree?
The issue that I shush. Right. So look, the issue that I have with the law of excluded middle and being used here is simply just the way that you talk about necessary thing and then contingent thing and impossible, right? So I mean I don't see really where the coherency is in premise one in reference to the law of excluded middle. And the idea is simply just, I mean, well, maybe we could just get a re-go around for the fifth time maybe here, right? On the definitions. But like obviously I think if we go hold on, let me scroll up to your definitions so I can say it out exactly verbatim and try and like clip me or something. Is there a note here someone took? I think Lex took one. Yeah, true and one evaluation, obviously. Mm-mm. Oh, here we go. God is the necessary being, and necessary being referent exists in all possible worlds and is external. So the issue, right, is if you're saying all logically possible worlds, well, I would just counter argue and say that this type of necessary being can maybe not exist in a logically possible. I think it's logically possible for a necessary being to not exist, right? So do you accept that or not? And if so, I can just give an argument that I can whip up real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's not possible. Give it the conclusion to bi-argument. I give it the soundness of bi-argument. That's not going to be the case because my argument shows that necessary thing is necessarily the case. Right, so that type of objection is not going to work here. But you ask me, why is LEM going to be the type of thing which is pertinent given the dichotomy now? The LEM just wants to say that for any proposition P, P is either true or not P is true. Right, and a dichotomy means that you're going to have some mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive categories. So you just want to show that anything that exists either necessary or contingent. Right, for any proposition P, either P cannot be false or P can be false. Right, there's no middle state because LEM rules out these kind of truth value gaps. Right, there's no degrees of truth under LEM. Right, so LEM guarantees either box P or not box P, right? If box P didn't there exist, at least one possible or P is false. So it must be the case that it's either going to be true in all worlds or true but not in all worlds, right? There's no third option. There's no third truth value which survives the law of excluded middle term. So that's going to be why LEM is going to be relevant and pertinent when discussing this. But we don't even need to accept LEM, right? Because it's true in virtue of the analytics that's dichotomous, right? And then you want to ask you asked me something. I forgot what you asked me. I feel like your ADHD is really rubbing off on me. So maybe you could repeat what you said.
I mean, there was like a couple questions, but look, I'm just gonna give an argument for why a necessary being exists could be logically impossible, right? So premise one is simply just if a being is necessary, then its non-existence is logically impossible. Premise two, if the non-existence of a being is logically impossible, then that being's existence is logically impossible. Premise three, if a being's existence is logically impossible, then that being does not exist. Conclusion one, thus, if a being is necessary, then that being does not exist. From premise 1 and 2 and 3.
Yeah, I'm going
Right.
to
And then
actually
I'll
just
give
make sure
motivations
you're
for
actually.
shush, monkey boy. Right. Thank you. So look, then we have the motivations. Right. Look, so motivation for premise 1, I'll go down. Let me know if you want me to stop. I'll just stop at premise 1 for you to attack. Right. But the motivation for premise 1 is simply just the idea of the definition for necessity. Right. Look, let me just go up to the necessary. So a referent that exists in all possible worlds, right? I mean, like I might have a slight issue with that, right? And the idea with that is simply just because its existence isn't contingent or anything else in my idea. It's inherent in its nature, right? But we would just, say that if it's them denying its existence, or sorry, if we are denying its existence, or I am, to create a logical contradiction, then you can just imagine a necessary being as something like a fundamental law of logic. Or maybe just like you wouldn't be able to conceive of a universe where that law doesn't hold, right? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you want like the further motivations for the other premises, or do you just want to attack premise 1?
Yeah, I have
Or
a
2
couple
or
of, well,
3?
I mean, just the tops go over it out. I'm just gonna go over top and just respond to this low tier blunder. So it seems like he did understand by definition necessary, given that it was conjunctive, right? One of the stipulations necessary was not only that the referent exists in all possible worlds, but also that the referent is eternal. Seems like his argument was actually targeted by a definition of a necessary being to begin with. Secondly, I'm unsure on whether or not he was using my conception of logical possibility, right? Because it sounds like he has a different definition of logical possibility there, in which case it wouldn't actually target the argument. But also, I don't grant that conceivable possibility or epistemic possibility implies logical possibility. So you say, oh, we can imagine this world. I don't grant that that's going to be the type of thing which shows that it's going to be logically possible, right? There's things like the gold box conjectures, which show that um, if you imagine something, it could be contradictory, but we can imagine or conceive that it obtains. I think that things like the liar's paradox are going to be the kinds of things which are conceivable in practice, right? But I don't grant that they're logically possible. So I don't grant that epistemic possibility implies logical possibility. So that's one. And then also, this is the last time I'm going to say this. I have met my burden of proof. There's not a single premise he's asking for justification for where I have not provided it, but he has not met his burden of rejoinder, right? He has not shown that any of my premises are false or that any of my justifications will be invalid or unjustificatory towards the proposition. So I would say that I won this debate. But yeah, we just go end the debate off here, since Alex did say that I would be going over time if I continue to talk. So yeah, this was a nice debate. And Lex, you can go ahead and give verdict.
Well, first we agreed to 5-minute closings. Because Capp spoke last, I'll let Bruce give the first closing.
Okay, yeah. So I just want to be clear for for the combo. That was like terrible for this fucking idiot, right? So look, I just want to be clear. Look, just because people are giving questions that are giving clarity or other types of questions, right? That doesn't mean that they're not attacking the argument, right? Every single question was focused towards a direct premise or proposition that he might have made, right? So I mean, I could give different references to different questions that I gave, but I mean, like obviously that main one would be talking about the type of modality, right? Once we finally got to get under the idea here that we're talking about a logical modal scope, meaning just reference to logically possible worlds, right? And look, I don't know why he just thought we had different ideas of conflating views of a logically possible world or something that's logically possible. Obviously, it just means consisting under the laws of logic in reference to classical logic, right? In terms of presenting Liar's paradox, I mean, like that was like terrible, right? And look at now I see him saying that's not his definition. Well, I mean, I think your definition is completely, utterly fucking retarded. If you think a logically possible world isn't something that's consistent under the laws of logic, anyone here would agree with that. You fucking retard, right? But look, anyways, right? Look, in reference to going over premise 2, right? Again, like I could say, even if we're not referencing a type of logically possible world, right? Or for example, any of the other premises, like premise 1 or premise 3, I guess would be reference to possible worlds and necessary beings. Look, right. My idea is, look, you could just say that you're a modal skeptic, right? You're a skeptic on it, and so it'd be irrelevant for you to make this type of argument in favor of God's existence. I mean, I think that's like pretty explanatory, right? But yeah, what's my time on closings? Because it's like the first stuff I wanted to get out of the way.
You have 3 minutes and 15 seconds left.
Okay, thank you. So look, right. I'm not even gonna address the rhetoric. It was like pretty bad. But in terms of my argument, I don't really think he attacked it. I mean, he tried to present, the Liar's paradox, which is like not at all going to go through. So I won't even address it because he didn't really get to get all of it out, and he even said it was like conflating in some parts. But look, right, for LXM, right, look, there's a clear issue in reference to the definition of what something that's necessary is, right, which is what my argument was giving, right. There's like a clear distinction. I don't know if you wanted me to type it out, but you never really asked. You kind of just like gish galloped through it. But if he's just like not ever going to attack the argument or tried, then I mean, like obviously we'd accept the argument to go through now that we're in closings, and I think it's like pretty obvious then that premise 1 fails, yeah, and premise 2 fails. So that's pretty much it. Do I even really need to go on more? Like it was like obviously retarded for this guy. Got his fucking head torn off.
Is that the end of your closing?
Yeah, man.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay, Cap, whenever you go, I'll start on your first word.
Yeah, so let's be clear about what happened in this dialectic. Not only did I constantly have to repeat myself, but Bruce decided that he wanted to spend most of his time asking clarity questions. I think there was a moment in there where he had to pause, take a step back, and actually think for once. And at that moment, we knew that he was stun locked. We already knew that he's not going to be able to defeat any premise. At best, he gave an argument, but that argument was equivocated or the definition of necessary that I was using because I told him that necessary is not going to be the type of definition where that exists in all possible worlds. That's not the only thing that is necessary to be necessary, right? That's not the only definitional characteristic. So when he targets that, it doesn't seem like that's targeting the type of thing that I'm talking about. So his argument was already going to be fallacious. He also equivocated on the modality, where I told him that logical possibility is not going to be only the kinds of things which are consistent with the laws of logic. I also told him about the conjunctive truth table part. He didn't, use that definition. He said that asking questions is a tax. Now, actually, I don't think that's true. I don't think that asking clarity questions is where I respond in a coherent manner, a logically consistent manner, going to be the kinds of things which attack an argument. Right? He used most of his time being stun locked. He strawmanned the argument multiple times. He was being fallacious. And yeah, I would just say I'm going in my closer here. It's really a waste of time to keep going. Everyone knows that he lost. I hope the judge doesn't scam me, but yeah, that's the end of my closer.
Okay, and with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. Okay, so I have a little bit to say about this debate. So first of all, not to diss either of you, but the rhetoric on both sides was like absolutely horrid. Like I don't, I don't know what I was listening to. But the rhetoric isn't the relevant thing. It's the substance that matters, right, guys? So on the substance, I have a few notes here. Okay, and I just have a few things I want to get clear on from my notes. Okay, so first of all, on the straw man point, I mean that never really went anywhere, right? So what I heard was Bruce said something. Capp said that Bruce said something about premise 2, something like something about the way that possibility works or something. And then Capp said, oh, well, that's straw manning the argument. Bruce came back and said it's not straw manning, and then he gave some reason for it. And then Capp says, well, no, well, no, you never gave a reason for why you're not straw manning. And then Bruce says in response, well, you never gave a reason for why it is straw manning. And then Capp gave a reason in response to that, but never responded to Bruce's reason to not. But I will say that I do very, very slightly favor Capp's performance on that. Even though it was kind of like a kind of a nothing burger of a point. But okay, so we moved past that. So then we went on to the rest of the argument, right? We clear up the modality. The modality is logical. And Capp says that logical possibility just means that there is no inconsistent with your analytic, or there is no inconsistency with your analytic, or with your analytic context. And then also says something like under all evaluation, or there is at least one evaluation where it's true. And then he said impossibility is under all evaluations it's false. On necessity, it's under all evaluations it's true, whatever. But to be clear, those can be cashed out in virtue of the analytic thing anyway, so there's no reason to go into that. Now, first of all, this is kind of this is a definition that's usually used for broad logical possibility, not strict logical possibility. And broad logical possibility is usually read as the metaphysical modality, but I don't know if that's what Capp was trying to get at there. But they never really got into it. So I don't really know. And then, so we have here this sort of objection to premise 1, right? Now, Bruce asks for the argument for premise 1. And Capp says it's a dichotomy between contingent and necessary. And says that P1 is true because it's analytic given what contingency means. And then goes on to say something like something about the LEM. Bruce says he doesn't like how the LEM is being used. And then, to be honest, Capp makes a kind of weird point here. I didn't hear it get responded to by Bruce, but there was kind of a weird point where Capp says it's entailed from the LEM that either necessarily P or necessarily not P. That's not true, but I never heard a response to that. So I mean, I guess he used the LEM right with respect to how he's using it here. Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, it was kind of a bad showing on both sides, to be honest. But I mean, I like very, very, very slightly favor Capp, like in the most minuscule way.
Wait. So Lex, who are you giving verdict to?
Capp.
All right. Judge gave verdict, nigga. This beef shit is over with, nigga. Wallahi.
Okay, but
So-
to be fair, don't make it sound like I think he like
Okay.
bitched him or something.
No,
It was like
right. Lex said it was not a crazy high diff, but Lex did give verdict. Now, I'm gonna unmute you guys if you guys start screaming.
Yo, bro, I just for the lose, man.